Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Through Thick and Thin with me, Rachael Mecholsky, for episode 12. So today it's actually just me, solo episode hosting to finish off the year. I did want to just address, a few things by saying that this is the last episode of season one as we're finishing up the 2024 year, but also the last episode indefinitely just due to, I guess, scheduling conflicts, you can say. This has been a great opportunity and experience for me. This is something that has been on my bucket list, and I am proud of myself for doing it. I'm really grateful for all the people who took the time to come on and share and contribute their experiences and advice with myself and the people who are tuning in. But just for right now, I'm focusing more on work and working with people in person, working with some community organizations and helping people in that way. So it's not potentially done forever, just for right now. So I am planning on being a bit more present on Instagram and TikTok and my socials, just giving more like quicker snippets and tips and some talking points. So if you guys are still interested in following along or listening, watching those videos, those will be on all my socials, Rachael the therapist. So I'll hopefully be more present if I have more time to do those things on there. So today, though, we are talking about tips to get through the holiday season. And I just really wanted to bring this up because it's a topic that comes up a lot with my clients. And it's just the holidays are a triggering time for eating disorders because holidays are surrounded by food and people. So usually what some of my clients and I talk about is how to manage recovery or to how not to spiral. So for my own personal experience, during the holidays, I would over exercise. I would make sure I would squeeze in whatever high intensity workout I could. The more calories burnt, the better. I'd force myself to work out even if I wasn't feeling it, or days were just too packed and I was just feeling fatigued or I wasn't really feeling up to it because I was feeling guilty about eating the food. So I would also overcompensate the next day, like restricting, not allowing myself to have leftovers, which Thanksgiving is my favorite holiday. I love the food. I can't wait to have the leftovers and the leftover sandwich. And I wouldn't allow myself to eat anything because I was very, very stuck to like this one cheat day or one day off. And that's it. I would go right back to tracking or whatever it is, counting calories. And not saying that there's anything wrong with getting back to your routine, but I wanted to allow myself to enjoy leftovers and I didn't. Now looking back, those are moments I regret because, one of my favorite things that my grandmother used to make was her stuffing, and she'd make extra servings just for me, and I didn't eat them. And now, unfortunately, she passed away a couple years ago and she's no longer here. And it's just like time I wish I had savored. And, you know, as much as we try to separate food from emotion and from feeling, food is very complicated because there is a cultural component, there's a family component, it's nostalgic, it does have an emotional piece to it. So it's not as easy as everybody likes to think it is. So Thanksgiving is coming up, and then all the different holidays, whatever anybody chooses to celebrate, but lots of foods, lots of sweets. So I pretty much tell people to not do what I used to do, which is a common mistake is people like to restrict all day to save up their calories, right? This is setting you up for disaster of binging. So, for those meals that might be like at weird times and like you are thrown off your typical eating schedule, make sure that you are eating more, like try to get some nutrient dense food prior to that. Try to allow yourself to eat. So have a breakfast, have a protein shake, have some fruit or vegetables, things with fiber that you might be missing out on the rest of the day. You don't have to, like, it's okay if you can't. But these are also things that when you're restricting and you're starving, your hunger cues and fullness cues are completely out the window. So you're more likely to binge. You're more likely to be triggered of feeling guilty because you ate way past fullness cues, or go in, you're eating too quickly, not mindfully. So people think restricting is the best way, but it's actually the opposite. You know, we can be mindful with what we choose to eat. Like I said earlier, having, a protein shake, or having some fruits or vegetables or things with more fiber, because you are going to be missing out on that. And not to be TMI, but like a huge thing is people struggle with being regular with their bowel movements the next couple of days or whatever it is. And just like these little tips, or taking certain supplements, like a fiber supplement or anything like that, can help you stay on track and not, you might not feel as bloated or constipated or whatever it is because you're not eating enough, or you're eating things that your stomach isn't used to. And it kind of just helps you give it more normalcy. So definitely don't restrict. Actually allow yourself to eat if you're hungry prior to an event or a big meal or a party. Also, with that in mind, allowing yourself to eat the thing that you're craving. So, one of my clients and I had a conversation because her mom, she lives at home, her mother bought a pie, right? And she was binging the pie late at night. She wasn't allowing herself to have it all day, but she really loves whatever pie this was. But then when it was late at night, she was binging, and she struggles with bulimia and throwing up and purging. So she'd eat the pie and then she'd throw up, and then she'd eat the pie and throw up. And yes, this is an extreme case scenario, but this is also common because when we don't allow ourselves to eat things, we just end up binging them more times than not, right? Or obsessively thinking about it, and then eating all these other things, and then the thing we craved at the end of the day. So what I suggest is to allow yourself to have what you crave, but do it mindfully, okay? So like, let's say if we use this pie, for example, cut the piece of pie and put it on a plate and sit down, whether that's by yourself or your family, and like actually enjoy the pie. Actually mindfully realize what it tastes like. Think about what your fullness cues are. If you want to finish the pie, or you stop at 3/4 of the way, or you have a second piece, okay. When we do that, we actually eat less than when we were to binge it, right? Or eat it in hiding, or we have that shame or whatever it is. And then like we're not even enjoying it when we binge whatever the restrictive food is. Like, allow yourself to plate it and eat it. And that could be a sweet or savory thing. So like, allow yourself to have the thing that you crave, or that may be more of like a special, like non-nutrient food, right? And we talk about like one day or 1 week or one holiday season is not going to like change your body composition forever. It's routine, it's other things like that actually can like cause change. So a lot of people are worried about like going off the deep end, potentially like relapsing, or like just gaining weight over the holiday season. So when we actually allow ourselves to have the craving, we're less likely to binge, therefore less likely to like gain weight in the longer run. Of course, there's like multiple factors with this, and that's kind of generalizing, but that's what I talk about with clients. With that as well, doing the things that do make you feel good and also help with mood, help with endorphins that aren't just food and sugar and things like that. And sometimes when we eat too much, we do feel lethargic. So my clients and I do make a point to like try to get some movement in, even if it can't be like that, 3-hour high intensity workout. Maybe it's you're working out at home. Maybe you take a walk before or after the dinner or party, or you walk your dogs for 20 minutes or a mile or whatever it is. Okay, like something. Movement is great for our body. It also, sometimes for those who struggle with more like compulsive exercise tendencies, the racing thoughts of like, I didn't work out today. I'm going to gain weight. I'm going to gain weight. And like that anxiety that builds up to it. But like rather than that really taking control, do some gentle movement. Do what you can, maybe it's a 20-minute at home workout, or maybe you go to the gym for 30 minutes instead of 60 or 90 minutes. Or maybe you skip like day of, but you get right back on it the next day. As much as a lot of people look at movement to prevent weight gain, it's huge for movement is great for regulating our nervous system. It's great for making us feel good. It helps us give us more energy. We don't feel as lethargic. I'm a big component, especially with like daylight savings and, people struggling with winter blues, trying to get outside for 10 minutes a day, getting some natural sunlight, getting some fresh air, right? So walking is a great thing if that's all we can do. If like you can't run, you can't bike ride or whatever it is, go for a walk. Even if it's cold, bundle up. Take your dogs or your animals. I guess it'd be dogs. You're not really walking cats, I guess. And they'll enjoy it too. Or take your friends and family, right? A lot of people get back together with old friends or whatever it is. Go on a walk, grab a cup of coffee, get outside. Make sure you're also like taking any supplements, especially if people are vitamin D deficient in the winter months. Just those are easy. Get some vitamins to help make you feel a bit better. Also, I think, coming back to like trying to be mindful, it's a meal, right? And as much as like we hold importance to these things, it's also about spending time with family and friends. It's not saying no to the things because food is there and you don't want to eat, or you don't want to go out. There are certain things in your control that you can choose the menu or whatever it is, but like giving yourself some grace this holiday season, like not missing out on experiences and opportunities because you're fearful of the lack of control or weight gain, or you don't know the ingredients or the macros in the meal, and people are going out, your work has a company party, right? Like these are experiences, and this is where eating disorders tend to affect our quality of life. We miss out on things. It hinders our relationships with others. And I think as much as holidays are a big component to that, it's important to take a look at ourselves. And with that being said, sometimes being with others and having those relationships are great, and other times it can be triggering. So if you have a family member or friend or someone who's often, the get-togethers and gatherings who is really triggering, who body checks, who talks about diet culture a lot, who is just not healthy, making sure like, you're preparing yourself, right? Like, this person is going, if possible. Sometimes, we don't know, but if we do know, like preparing yourself and being like, I have some options when they say something that's triggering or something that alludes to diet culture. I can, one, choose to ignore it. I can say something, more in a jokingly way, like, we don't need to talk about that stuff, or we don't need to be so hard on ourselves, or we can be confrontational, and we can have a little bit of attitude depending on how we're feeling. It's not a right or wrong answer. It's just whatever you think would be best for yourself and what would be the most beneficial to actually have a potentially productive conversation. If somebody comments about how much you are eating or about your body or weight, you have a right to directly establish a boundary and say, that's not okay. That's unacceptable. Sometimes people are deemed as sensitive, or, and then if they isolate, they don't share their thoughts, they spiral, right? If in-person confrontation is too much for you, you can say like what you need to via text or a phone call to this person. But when people just like let this behavior go, you don't know who else they're saying it to, right? And especially if this is something we're taking a look at, it can be very detrimental for someone who is like in the midst of disordered eating or is in like early recovery. And If you're on the other side of that, if you have a comment to say about someone's food or what they weigh or how they look, just don't. I always tell people it's better to just not comment on someone else's appearance. Ask about their work or school or hobby or what they've been up to, right? It does not have to be about the latest diet or how much they weigh or how many plates of whatever they had. Unfortunately, a lot of people make these comments because they're uneducated. They don't know how it affects other people's because, especially more like, I think generations prior to millennials, it was like really acceptable behavior. So sometimes just having a gentle conversation can put somebody in their place. You can do it jokingly and be like, wow, I didn't know we were in the 80s and still comment on people's bodies and what they eat, right? And it can be like half joking and somewhat playful, but enough where people maybe start a conversation, right? You could be the one who educates things. Or if there is a topic of gratitude around the table, that's where maybe you talk about like being grateful for your body or being grateful for so many other things that don't have to do with negative diet talk or harming comments. So with that being said, sometimes you have to acknowledge and not try to get too frustrated because people are on a different journey than you. They're at different places. Some people never want to change, and it's sad, but that's on them. We can only control what we do. So those are my tips for the holidays. Thank you guys so much for listening. If you have any questions or if there's any topic that I didn't get a chance to talk about, it's a bit harder when, I'm just talking to myself, but feel free to comment or, message me on any one of my socials and I can try to make a quick video or tidbit for that. So, like I said, this is the 12th and final episode of season 1, and season 2 is currently on hold. Don't know when I'll be returning, but there are 11 other episodes if you guys need a recap or need anything else to listen to. And there's always more information on all of my socials, Rachel the therapist. So thank you guys so much for tuning in and being a support. And I hope you all have a great holiday season.